Welcome to Cyndi and Rocky Talk San Antonio, your trusted voice of the Patriot, bringing you the latest news, impactful stories, and interviews that matter most. Together we amplify the voice of the people, and together we drive conversations that make a difference. Stay tuned because the heartbeat of San Antonio starts right here.
To Cyndi and Rocky Talk San Antonio. We are live on the radio, welcoming everybody to have a safe trip and travel home. I hope you all are tuning in. We have some exciting interviews tonight. Rocky's about to head right in just a few minutes, and until then, we're going to go ahead and start without him. We have our special guest today. We have Miss Chris Coons from the Republican Party of Texas.
Why, thank you, Cyndi. Listen, girl power today. We miss you, Rocky, but we're gonna start without you, buddy.
That's right. So, Ms. Chris, why don't you talk to us about you personally first? Whatever kind of information you want to give. How did you come into being the chairwoman of the Republican Party? Let's start there.
Oh, Cyndi, thank you so much. Yeah, first, thanks you guys. I'm so excited to be here. It's my first time with you, and actually like my second or third time on the radio, so this is pretty exciting for me. But anyway, I have been an avid politico, my entire life. My parents were very involved in politics. My mother was a state representative for 14 to 16 years, a tax commissioner. Anyway, very, very involved. My father's city council. So, that's how I got into it. But so my entire life, I've always been, either a volunteer or working behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. When we moved to San Antonio, I knew that it was during the presidential. I knew that I had to get really involved. Mm-hmm. And so I did. I just jumped right in and started working for the party, obviously. Jumped into a women's club here. And we just never looked back. I just never looked back. And so I've been an election judge, a clerk, a block walker, poll watcher. I've done almost every single office at the headquarters. Mm-hmm. So I was finance chair, volunteer coordinator. I kind of did a little bit of everything, and then decided that didn't like the direction of how our party was going, and so decided, you know what, let me just throw my hat in the ring and see how this goes. And felt very blessed to win last year in the primary, and took office in July, and so now we're just taking off, and it's just been fantastic.
Very exciting. I know it was a breath of fresh air when you took over in office, and I think we had worked together in different ways and different circles, but always towards the same goal. And I think since 2014 is when I started. What year was that? Well, you were born with the yard sign. Oh yeah, you were born with the yard sign. Absolutely. So you started at birth. Well, unfortunately, I did not. I started a little bit younger. A little bit when I was younger, like 22. But as soon as I could, I was involved.
Well, I'll age myself here, but you remember. Barry Goldwater ran for president. All this, I was obviously a baby, but I'm a Goldwater baby, is what my mother used to call me all the time. So you're right. So I was in a stroller with my mother when she was, working for Goldwater.
Wow, so, I love it. I love it. So tell us. So it's a brand new leaf, right? You've been in for about how long? About a year?
5.5. No, 5.5 months.
Months. Yeah. Okay. Time flies. Yeah. You're right. 5.5 months.
Yeah. We don't remember. We jump in. We're in there in July, and we have 140 whatever days until the November 5th election, and so we had to hit the ground running. There was no rest for the weary. Honestly,
seriously, no rest.
And so we just got behind all those candidates, and of course President Trump. You can imagine we were all concerned with the direction of the country, and of course our city too. We were very, very worried, and we had to make sure that he won. Okay, at least from our perspective, right? Yes. We had to make sure he won, and so that's kind of where we started. And so we had to we restructured, we reorganized, we did everything that we could to get the office back to where it had to be, and of course, all while campaigning
yes,
with
multitasking.
great people, and we obviously we're excited about the ultimate result, right? But everyone in Bexar County with our party should be extremely excited because the analytics, the things that followed from that campaign were absolutely incredible. It was all good news.
Yes, very
all
good news. And what a big relief. It was the most stressed ever, I thought.
Yeah,
I got new white hairs, a whole patch. But I felt like such a big relief, like freedom. Like somebody ripped off the Band-Aid and it just said like freedom.
Right.
At last, free at last, That's how I felt. But I know it was a lot of work for you, as well as everybody else. And it's volunteer-led, is that correct?
What's that? Yes,
It's volunteer-led.
It's all the chairman. I think people don't realize that this is, even though you run and you're elected, it's a volunteer position, and so I think that's shocking for a lot of people. But we everyone that works up there, is a fantastic and a great volunteer. So
Wow, that's good to hear. So a lot of it's a lot of manpower, woman power, woman power to get there done. But people need to understand that they are able, that this is accessible to them, that they are able to come in and help you, right? I mean, what's the entry level position for the Republican Party?
thank you so much for guiding me through this because you're exactly right. We encourage everyone out there who definitely wants an entree into politics. Our doors are open. I mean, literally, we're open 5 days a week, 8:30 to 5 every single day, okay? And I'm up there every single day, by the way, unless I'm off-site doing something wonderful like this. But yes, I mean, we have, my goodness, we have a Trump store also in the office. But we call, we're always calling, phoning people, reminding them of what's happening, the candidates that are running, who's running, the elections. So there's so much to do up there that we encourage everyone to come up and see us who wants to get involved.
I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and
Sarah.
welcome Rocky. Rocky to the show.
The girls were taking over, mister. The girls were taking over.
Who runs the world? Who runs the world?
You can say
Girls.
Jesus runs the world.
Perfect. Well, let's see if Mr. Saul can fix our cameras so we can all fit in here. There we go. Nope, we got it. We got it.
You look very handsome today, sir.
Well,
you look
thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank you. Every once in a while, I do take a shower and do clean up.
Every Thursday we take a shower.
There we go.
Anyway, well, I'm glad you made it safely here, Rocky. We were just talking about what was the entry level or the experience needed to get involved into politics and into the Republican Party, and it is volunteer based. But Ms. Chris, we want to talk to our everyday listeners here who don't know how to get involved. So what do? They just show up at the office. They say, "Hey, I'm interested. Well, take me."
Okay.
And how do you vet them?
So for a volunteer, we actually have an application. Okay, so we make sure, obviously, that they are Republicans with us, okay?
That's right.
Not that we don't welcome wonderful crossovers, but we have to make sure that they know, what we're looking for, right? So they do an application, we vet them, and then we find out exactly what their likes are or what they like to do with us, whether it is phone banking or just manning the phones or whatever it is they want to do, or working for a candidate, whatever it is they want to do, we make sure we put them in that slot, okay? So that's first and foremost. Now, if you're asking about someone coming in who wants to get into politics, okay, it's the exact same thing. I mean, we still do the application kind of thing. We vet everybody. We want to see which direction they want to go in, and then we either try to team them up with an elected official, and we really give them the rundown. We've just recently created a wonderful, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, Cyndi, we created a wonderful resource manual for those actually just getting into politics with a snapshot of things that are required of you to do. And so you're not looking all over the internet to try to find those things to do. Perfect. But we've gotten
really
a tremendous feedback from that, wonderful feedback from that.
Awesome.
So that's kind of how we start. So.
And that's actually, I did want to make some comments about that because as some of our viewers already know, I am also a precinct chair.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, precinct 2102 in live and in live in color, right? But really quick, what turned me on to that was I wanted to get involved, but I didn't know how, right? So that's when I found you guys, and I did some research, and actually Miss Cyndi was the one that recruited me and said, "Man, you got the the know-how to
The
be
passion in your pants.
yeah, the passion.
Well, that's a totally different.
As a Latino, as Latinos do. No, I think I found you at a previous employer that I worked at.
Yeah.
So I recruited
Yeah, so
from.
that's a great thing. Is that you know what? There's a lot of leaders out there that want to get involved, but they don't know what or
The
how to
entry
do it.
level.
And one thing I did like is once you get involved, like I said, they come and meet you and they do the application, and obviously they have to qualify. You have, like when you said earlier, we find out what you like to do, what you like to learn. Oh my God, you guys have a whole bunch of departments, a whole bunch of levels. It's just jaw dropping of what we can do.
Yeah.
That we as the regular people do not know it's accessible or it's available. I mean, it was really cool to meet so many people in different levels of elections, of government, and all the way to the Capitol, all the way to Washington D.C.
Yeah.
You know, it was really exciting. I love the meetings, learn the process and procedures, and you know what? It was. Me being a businessman myself, I was like, you know what? How come everybody doesn't know about this? So when I got to learn about the needs of the group and whatnot, we have hundreds of seats available. We need to fill.
How many seats, Chris?
Right now we have well, there's supposed to be. So I'm so glad you brought up precinct chairs because really that is one of the first lines of jumping into whatever party, whatever you in politics. Okay, so we're supposed to have 703 precinct chairs, but you eliminate about a quarter of those initially because they're in commercial areas. In other words, there's no housing or whatever. Okay,
Sure.
so about 500 is what we should really have. Okay, realistically, we're at 239 right now, but in the 5 months. Remember, we started about at 156, you guys.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and that happens with transitions of
Yeah,
administrations. You know,
absolutely.
that people leave or whatever.
They
you
leave,
know.
they come back.
Right, and they come, yeah. And so we're pretty proud of that, though, when you think that we picked up about 95 here or there, precinct
Excellent.
chairs.
That's awesome.
But for people who are wondering what precinct chairs are, we want to make sure you know that you are basically working your community. Okay, for your party, you're the boots on the ground for us. You're meeting your neighbors, the businesses around you, dear friends. I mean, and you're educating and communicating with them about what it's all about. And I
Absolutely.
tell everybody, people who don't want to get involved, right? Politics affects our everyday life. No matter what you
Yep.
do,
I think
politics
America's
affects you.
waking up to that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Too. I tell that people when they say, I don't want to be involved in politics. Politics is involved in your eggs,
Yes.
your milk, your carrots, your apples. Your gas,
Everything.
your kids, school uniforms.
I mean, how
everything-
cool is that to tell your kids, you had a part in that, a small part in changing laws and changing bills and helping people getting elected to Congress and whatnot. That's awesome.
It really is.
It really
I mean,
is.
And we're trying to, we need to get back to that.
Yes,
we've
yes,
somewhat
yes.
strayed away from all of that, guys, and my party.
Bring down the basics.
Right. About history and about where we came from and who we are, and those mistakes we made along the way. No, we're correcting all of that. And, and current day where we are right now is just, you're right, politics is affects us all. So
It's a
Let's talk
beautiful.
about- go ahead.
One second, real quick. It's a beautiful thing when you understand it, when you respect it, and you figure out a way to leverage it, not just for
Yes.
yourself, for your business, but for your community.
It's true.
And I want to end this subject on that. Is that when I did the research, there's hundreds of seats available. So I want this show, share this show, because I want this to be a battle cry, not just to potential leaders, but to business owners in San Antonio. Give us a call, reach out to us on the show or on Facebook. Let's figure out which district you represent. And if there's no Republican representation in your district,
In your neighborhood.
we want to help you secure that seat. And again, idealistically, it's ideal for business owners, in my opinion, for business owners that have brick and mortar businesses in San Antonio. If we can secure your district and show you how the workings of your district, we can connect you far better to your community than any network marketing extravaganza or event or luncheon that you do. We can make you the voice of your district, and that's powerful. That is priceless. So I'm calling everybody out that has a business, a brick and mortar. Reach out to us. Let's find out what district you're in. If we have an open seat, we want to help you secure that seat, and that's all I want to say to that.
Well, and
I love
just to clarify what a precinct chair it's not an entire district, but it's a puzzle piece of the community. So a precinct chair has approximately maybe like 200 to 300 houses, right? Time flies on here, so I want to get to the next topic. And the next topic is, can you name the platform of the party? Like, what does the Republican Party believe in? That way our everyday people who are listening and who are not experienced in this know that Republican Party values aligns with their values too.
Absolutely, everybody. And Cindy, it's a great question. First and foremost, you guys, we believe in your own empowerment and less government. So in other words, you're in control of your lives and your business, okay? Yeah. And government is there, you're right, as our safety net to help us when we need it, but not to, not to do everything and tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And then, of course, obviously, we're all about pro-life. We're about protecting, life as, born and unborn, obviously. We're all about protecting life. And those are two of the big mainstays. I mean, truly, less government and then being pro-life and our values should align. I mean, I really believe in my heart, most of us are here in the center. We're not here and here. We're all about right in here somewhere. And so if you're considering right now, thinking about coming over to the Republican side, which I hope you are, because I think your lives right now are about to dramatically change under this president, in the ways that you mentioned. I think,
Oh, yeah.
So can you give us some pros and cons that have happened since January 20th till now with our new President Trump?
Okay, I think right off the bat, you both know our standing in the world has already been increased. I mean, that people really believe in what they're seeing and what he's saying, okay? Again, as hard as let's say media, as hard as the media is trying to really villainize him again, people just aren't buying it anymore. So I think our standing in the world is number one. We're respected by those who will do bad things to us. Number two, I think you've seen this man hit the road running. I mean, in every single
First,
department,
second.
And if people can be patient, we had 4 years where things have collapsed.
Let the man cook.
Give the guy 6 months or whatever just to get us back in line, right?
Oh, my
and I think you're going to see those gas prices going down, those food prices going
He's like
down.
the chiropractor.
Yeah, and don't right. And don't focus on, guys. He's a lot of his is shtick. It's business shtick. He wants Canada to be the 51st state. I mean, really, no one believes that.
But how about that Gulf of America?
Oh my God, crying, laughing so hard. It's the best. It's the best, right? But his heart, you cannot question his heart and love for our country. And I think that's a lot of it. I think that's something he brings to the table that we haven't seen in a long time.
I actually made a post about that today. I said, look, let the man cook. You know what I mean? Let everything settle. We have no right to question him right now. He's done the impossible.
2 weeks.
Oh my goodness. Dude, like he hasn't failed yet. Like, there was a mathematician that actually took notice of all his wins. He says, and he quotes through science and mathematical formula that he has won so much that is right now it's impossible to win that much.
Right.
It's impossible. So there's another force. I call it out Jesus. He's been chosen by God. Okay, he's proven that far and beyond. Let the man cook. Don't stand in his way. Let's see where the chips fall.
And I really didn't give you the exact answer, but you can see it. And what he's immediately done. You guys, come on. He has secured Texas border with Governor Abbott. They want to make sure that immigration is safe and fair for everyone. That's it. We don't want people not to come. But we want them to come in safely and properly with our rules and laws. That's it.
All right, so we got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
It goes by fast, right?
Yeah.
We got 2 minutes left for you. What words of wisdom do you have for our community?
Okay, right now, everybody, our big focus, our huge focus, and I appreciate Rocky and Cyndi so much today. But guys, May 3rd elections are city elections, okay? That's our focus, a huge focus.
Yes.
Your city council members, the mayor, our school boards, all of that is essential. Pick up anything and everything you can read about these candidates and these races and get involved. Get involved in this because it is so important that we get the right people in place. Our city is broke. We have the highest crime rate we've ever had. I can go on and on and on. Roads are torn up. We all know that. Yep. And so these people can help us fix all of that.
Absolutely. And speaking of information, any information you have, I mean, you are a direct connection to the streets and to what's going on. Let us know, and we'll share all the information on our social media platforms, and we'll start sharing out there, and maybe we can have you come back whenever there's something major out there.
You guys are so wonderful. I mean, it'd be my pleasure. It'd be my honor. This has been so much fun. I don't want to leave. This is so much fun.
Well, you don't have to leave. You can stay tuned. But we have, you said something about limited government and unlimited opportunities. And our next guest is about to be on. He's going to come on through Zoom. And that's going to be Daniel Garza. So you can stay here with us. You don't have to leave. And then we're going to bring Mr. Daniel Garza on, the founder of the Libre Initiative. And he is going to talk to us about immigration.
My name is Daniel Garza, and my American experience started off here. I grew up picking crops with my family. My parents were immigrants from Mexico with nothing but a 4th grade education. We were so poor. My siblings and I would often miss school to work in the fields. Our home was the size of a tool shed. We had no running water, and what we would do is warm buckets of water on the stove so that when my parents returned from work in the fields, they would bathe with small cups. My father never took welfare because he didn't want to depend on anyone or lose his dignity. He is a proud and noble man.
We can make it with just 3 things. It's God, good credit, and freedom, liberty to work. And that's what the United States is.
I didn't know it at the time, but my father began saving money and buying and selling small properties. He bought a motel with the profit he made. My family and I spent long hours fixing up that motel while still working the fields. My father continued to buy and sell property, and one day he and my mother retired with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their lives.
If I don't come to the United States, I don't think I have the life that we got right now. Living so good,
My parents' American dream had become a reality. My family and I have succeeded by following the path to freedom. But that path is on the verge of vanishing. What we're starting to see here in America now is a growth in the size and the scope of government that is now starting to look like the governments that we left behind. I'm just torn apart when I see folks who are caught in this dependency that government offers. And not only that, they've condemned their children to a life of mediocrity and subsistence. That this is not the American dream. This is an American nightmare. The Libre Initiative is reaching the Hispanic community before they are lost forever. We know advancing economic freedom is the best way to improve human well-being, especially those at the bottom. And that's our message to the world. One day I was speaking before a group of 150 evangelical Hispanic ministers in South Texas, and a man stood up. He had tears in his eyes and said, I've never heard these things before. Why has nobody told us? Most Hispanics have never even heard about economic freedom, but they know it. Cuba, Venezuela, Mexico, Hispanics leave countries that have been ruined by tyranny to come to America, the land of the free. They don't just believe in the cause, they've lived it. It is a privilege to live in the United States because this is a nation where you dictate your destiny. No other nation has fulfilled more dreams and more aspirations than this country. And to have been born here, I'm just grateful to God for that. Learn how you can get involved at joinlibre.org.
All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in and watching that introduction on Mr. Daniel Garza. Mr. Daniel Garza, can you hear us?
Daniel Garza. We see you on there.
There you go.
All right, there we are.
There you are.
All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, what a pleasure.
All right, so I don't know if you were able to see your video, but we just played your American Dream video.
Yeah, it's kind of old already. We have a new one. But anyway,
that was a new one.
It's been like 14 years since we used that video.
Well, the story just hit the same way though. So I'm glad that you're on. I'm glad that you tuned in. And we just finished talking to Miss Chris Coons, is one of our other visitors here, and my co-host, Mr. Rocky Garcia, is on with us. I know that they changed the camera view, but we want to welcome you on here. One thing that's been affecting us here in Texas and a lot in San Antonio is the current changes with immigration. So that's why we're bringing you on today. I know that you talk all over the news networks and you update about the community. You update the community about what's going on right now with immigration. So I would love to welcome you to go ahead and start out. You can talk, introduce yourself. In addition to the video we just played for you, introduce yourself to our community. They're everyday listeners, just common community people who just love what's best for their city, and that's why they're tuning in now. So if you can introduce yourself just a little bit, and then we'll go into some immigration questions.
No. Well, thank you, Cyndi. What a pleasure to, obviously, get an opportunity to speak to you and your audience about the issues that are impacting your daily life. Look, the Lead Initiative was born about 15 years ago. We felt that, a certain voice within the Latino community wasn't being represented. Those who believe in American principles, who are, maybe identify as conservative even. I think for the longest time within the Latino community, there was a conversation that was dominated by folks on the center left, which is fine. Obviously, if you believe a certain way, you believe in certain ideas, you want to advocate for those and you want to champion those ideas. But I didn't feel represented, by the Latino surrogates or spokespeople, even at a national scale. So we launched the Lead Initiative, and we are now in 15 states across the country talking about issues that impact the Latino community from a center-right perspective. The bottom line. We also work with the community to overcome certain barriers that we face disproportionately as a community. When you consider that 30% of us only speak Spanish, I think that's a barrier to opportunity. 33% of us don't have a high school diploma. Barrier to opportunity. A lot of us obviously struggle with citizenship issues. Don't know how to start up a business. Don't have a driver's license. These are all things that a lot of people take for granted. But if you don't have these tools in the marketplace, you are at a major disadvantage. So we help folks, to again overcome barriers and position them better in the marketplace for success.
Excellent. Yes, everyday people don't understand that those freedoms that we possess, even the driver's license, how that can impact somebody who's not able to get one or doesn't have one or doesn't have the ability to pay for one. But we have to appreciate those everyday freedoms and continue to fight for them, because they're always one second away from being stripped by somebody else who wants more power. But can you tell us some more about what's been going on in the community now, since there's been some major changes and some executive orders, or, how's that been across the landscape of not only Texas, but how have you seen that in your local community?
Yeah, look, I mean, maybe I can preface it by first starting out with, how we got here. I think for a lot of Americans across the country, it was really hard to look at what was happening in our border and be satisfied with status quo, with the crisis, with almost unmitigated flow of folks that were coming through without our authorization. It was hard to trust the Biden administration to do proper vetting. 7 million folks were allowed into the country under Biden's watch. And I would argue that was almost impossible to vet that many when our system was being overwhelmed. Biden was actually busier spending time suing states for trying to stop the chaos at the border. And Cyndi, it wasn't that folks were anti-immigrant. They were just, upset with the chaos and the lawlessness that we were seeing at the border, and they wanted to bring order back to the situation. So they swung hard the other way, right? And now this administration, under Trump, who campaigned with a promise to clamp down on the border, to secure it, fortalecer la frontera, and then, of course, bring some sense of order to it. That's what people voted for. And that's what they're getting in a very real way. unfortunately, what's happening is that there seems to be just a one-dimensional approach to the issue of immigration that is much more complex than just our border. There is a need for America to meet market demand on labor, to keep families united. A lot of us in our communities, when it comes to the undocumented community, we go to school with them, we go to church with them. They're our neighbors. They're our family even. And so you have to approach this in a balanced way. Yes, do border security, but at the same time, what are you doing for a long-term solution where we can expand legal channels and address both, right? Border security and legal justice.
Correct. So on that statement right there, some people assume that because there's an executive order out, that it's a blanket that fixes it. But what I tell people, and you let me know if this is correct, what I tell people is that Congress needs to move and do something to continue to secure our border, because if President Trump's term ends in 4 years, there's still no law or there's no updated immigration system. If Congress doesn't move, what's going to happen?
Yes. No, there seems to be an incoherency here when it comes to how we address immigration. On the one hand, the assumption is that Congress is the body that is going to give us a long-term solution, that is going to work to reform our laws and give us that certainty for years to come, that this is what you should expect, right? When you come to the border, or if you want to apply for a legal avenue. But we don't have that right now. What we have is every 4 years, there's a revolution that happens because one president comes in and sets off a series of executive orders that now change the direction this way, causes this confusion. And people think there's a welcome sign at the border for one administration, and then all of a sudden, it feels like they're being persecuted by another administration. And what's going to happen in 4 years from now? We don't even know. And that's the uncertainty of executive action. The thing about executive action, Cyndi, is that the president is given that authority, is vested in authority to promulgate executive actions only when current law is fuzzy in a certain area, and so they have to give clarity to current law passed by Congress. The thing is that it has to be in consonance with current law, and that's sort of almost being ignored anymore, where these presidents are imposing the kind of almost legislation. They're doing a run around Congress instead of respecting what Congress is supposed to do. We elect congressmen, representatives, to represent us in Congress and pass laws on our behalf. We didn't elect a president to pass laws. He's supposed to execute the laws. And so we have a situation where the executive has assumed more power than it should, and the legislature is letting it happen. And that's a concern. And I don't care what side of the party you're on, because it causes uncertainty. There's confusion now about what what we're supposed to do when it comes to immigration every 4 years.
Can you hear Rocky? He's talking right now.
No.
Hold on. Saul's going to unmute your mic. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Daniel, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I had a couple questions. So that is the biggest elephant in the room right now is immigration. The big message that we want to send out there, especially with our show and all our avenues, is that, America loves immigration. We need immigration. America was built on immigration, but legal immigration. So all the tactics that have been executive ordered in right now is a need. When you look at the power of running a country, you can't, put your finger, toe, or elbow into it. You got to go all in, and that's what Donald Trump is doing. He has to get rid of all the bad people as soon as possible to reinstate order, okay? So my thing is this. Everybody knows people, immigrants that don't have their papers in our family, in our society, and they're great people, okay? I'm very passionate about this because it's a personal issue. So I want this show to let people know. I've been doing some research and correct and not correct me if I'm wrong, but let me know if you have done anything towards this. We need to advise or educate the immigrants that are in the city right now. Okay, how can they get green cards? How can they start the process while remaining in America? There are policies and procedures. There are loopholes, and I've been doing some research. I've been interviewing some lawyers, some immigration lawyers, and I'm getting a lot of data that is not available out there right now. Okay, so first off, how much does it cost for an immigration lawyer right now? I mean, the average is 10 grand to 15 grand. And a lot of people are saying, man, that's too much. I can't afford it. You know what? If 15 grand, if you finance it, it's like $100 a month. You can't tell me that's not worth your status. You know what I mean? So, I want to bring attention to that. The other thing is I interviewed this other lawyer, and they're talking about that there are loopholes. If you ever reported on a crime, somehow, I haven't got the details yet because I'm waiting for her to follow up with me. But she's saying she has advertisement on social media that if an immigrant has reported on a crime, somehow that they're able to get a green card and stay in place. So that's details that I'm interested in getting out there to the people. Another big thing is a lot of immigrants right now, they have tickets or traffic tickets or DWIs or minor infractions, and they don't believe that they'll qualify, so they're not even trying to get their papers. Mm-hmm. Now, interviewing some lawyers, so that's not the issue. It doesn't matter what traffic tickets, assaults, as long as it's been a long time, there are some loopholes that they can get people approved. And that's being proactive, okay? Let's be proactive, and I want to call on you if you have any resources to that. Let's follow up with another interview later to say what can we do to help the immigrants right now stay in place and apply for their green card. The other thing that's a big concern is when I did research on immigration, the process. Well, the thing is that you can apply your information, get the contract in there, but if there's something wrong, if you forgot to cross a T or dot an I, they kick your application to the end of the line without following up with these people. And that's why we're having people that are saying, I've been doing the right thing for 20, 30 years and nothing's happened. Well, they're not following up. And then when they do, they find out that they're at the end of the line because they forgot a birthday. They forgot an incident to disclose. I mean, we need to figure out how can we add a department to the immigration process. So just to notify people, you know what? Something was wrong with your file. Look into it or follow up with us. I mean.
Yeah. One of the
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us how the Libre Initiative is actually involved in this? Go ahead and just state that on the air. That way our listeners will know exactly the type of work that the Libre Initiative has done in the past 4 years since you've been involved.
So there's a couple of ways that the Libre Initiative has gotten involved on behalf of the Latino community on the issues of immigration. One is, of course, working within the community itself. I talked about the workshops that we do on English, on GEDs, on driver's licenses, and citizenship workshops. So the best thing to do is to contact your local Libre office. And you can get on Facebook, you can get on Twitter and find out, we're in 15 states across the country. I can't name them all right now, but if there is one in your community, like Cyndi, who is one of our reps there in the San Antonio area, we offer different kind of workshops. And sometimes I'm not sure, which office actually offers it now, but, we do bring immigration lawyers where we will have audiences ask questions of a lawyer. I'm not an immigration lawyer. I can't figure out all the variables that exist, as was being mentioned by Rocky there. There are, he's exactly right. There are a bunch of loopholes, ways that one can find a legal avenue towards a green card, and then 4 or 5 years later you get citizenship. I think you can even enlist for the Army, and that's another way. At the end of that, you get a green card. The best thing to do is, what the other thing that Libre does is to advocate for reform on policy change. And right now, the problem with our current immigration system is that it really is a very limited way of gaining a green card right now for a lot of folks. There is a massive wait line to try to get in through the legal channels. I think we allow 1.1 million a year to get a green card, which is why people have had to get guidance on how they can go through the asylum process or the refugee process or through a business visa to try to circumvent the process of getting into the U.S. with a green card. Now I say, they have opted to go through the asylum process, but according to some studies, 90% of the people that apply for asylum do not qualify for asylum. And the Biden administration was allowing them to enter the U.S. with a promise to come back for a day in court. That has stopped. That is no longer the case. They have promulgated a remain in Mexico policy under the Trump administration. And so you can't game the system or even go through it, in a very legal way. So what we're doing is advocating to expand that certain limited number of folks that can come in to the U.S., that 1.1 million. We'd like to see dreamers given citizenship. We want to see that expanded. And we want to address the 15 to 20 million folks that are here undocumented as well. But we have to change the law for that. When the law was passed in 1986, the IRCA Act, the Immigration Reform and Control Act under Ronald Reagan, it didn't allow for future flows of immigration, just the 3.5 million that were undocumented at the time. And that's already been how many years? We're looking at 40 years since we passed that law. It is obsolete. And so both sides need to come together and reach consensus on it.
They come together. So last week, when I heard you speak, I want you to talk to the community, to the people who are experiencing repercussions from the executive order. I want you to say something to the people, to the listeners, to the everyday listeners, and say the sentiment that you said last week. And I said that I typed in a message and I said, that statement, literally brought me to tears, because immigrants are the fabric of America. And yesterday, on the 3rd, Monday, there was a walkout and some protest here in San Antonio. So I know that people are hurt. I know they're scared. I know that they're in hiding, and some of them don't want to go to work. Some of them don't want to take their kids to school. But what do you have to say to the community about this new executive order or the effect on the community?
Well, I can tell you that back in the 60s and the 70s, the Latino community, American citizens, had to protest, had to march, had to do walkouts in the schools because they were on the outside looking in. We weren't part of the process. Our voices weren't considered. In California, all the way to the East Coast, the Latino community was very much ignored by both parties. It took us a while, Cyndi, to gain our voice, to have a generation that now operates within the halls of Congress, a generation that have become U.S. representatives, have become senators, cabinet secretaries. We are now very much on the inside looking out. And right now, it's a moment in time where I think the immigrant community is feeling that sense of otherness, right? Of being outside, that they're not being heard, that they don't have a voice. And I think that's where the leadership, the current leadership that has now been given the opportunity to represent these folks, needs to step up. We need to be their voice. We need to be the champion on behalf of the folks that need us right now. We cannot leave our community alone. They need representation. But I think that representation also has a sense of responsibility that comes with it. we no longer have to protest and march and throw Molotov cocktails through store windows. There's a way to do it right. There's a way to do it productive. We don't have to confront senators and congressmen. We are them. That is part of our community. And so what we need to do is to make sure that we coalesce, on a shared agenda, on common ground. The Libre Initiative working with Unidos US or with MALDEF or whoever on an issue that is so important to our community, and be that voice on their behalf. I think we have to reconcile our differences, with these Latino groups, that come together and presume to represent the rest of the community. Well, damn it, start doing it. Step up. Forget about, how you're positioned with the party or if this politician, doesn't want to see you with that group or this group. This is time to lock arms. All the experience that you've gained over these last years, the positioning and the power that's been vested to you, use it. Use it on behalf of the community. Or what do you have it for, right? It's not the title, it's not the position that you have, it's what you do with it. And so I think it's just that time where, there come moments in a time where you're called to action. And it's not about, déjame mí y quítate tú, or whatever. It's let's come together here. And so I just want to give that message, to the immigrant community, that we will lock arms. We promise. We are committed to reach common ground, try to get both Republicans and Democrats to reach a consensus so that we can move forward on legislation that's going to give them the opportunity to stay in America and thrive and rise.
So
there we go.
Okay. This is definitely a bipartisan issue. They need to come together. They need to come to the table and work out something good before this administration is done. That way, at least, Trump has put everything under control, but now it's time for Congress to get themselves together, pass some kind of laws and legislation to streamline the immigration process and bring it up to date. So, we can't be waiting 10 to 20 years for someone to be processed through the system. I think that there's a much quicker way to be doing things now. Especially with like AI or the updates in technology, it should be handled in a swifter process, and we need to get moving on that process.
Yeah. And real quick, Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Daniel, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Quick question. So this is my biggest thing. What is the next step? We don't want to just be a radio show just to do a rally cry. We got to do something. We need change. We need to give the people step-by-step process. So in your professionalism or industry, what can we do as a radio show to show the people what is step 1, 2, and 3? What can we do to help the movement the right way?
Yeah. So what's important here is that we have to raise our voice as a community because we need a change of law. We need reform. That's the bottom line. There are no more spaces to enter the U.S. legally. We need to expand those spaces. And for that, we need to change the law. Now, it doesn't matter if you put an executive order because those executive orders are temporary. They're going to vote on or they're going to decide on DACA real soon here. The Supreme Court, and I think it's going to be deemed unconstitutional. That means even those folks who are dreamers right now are gonna revert back to undocumented. Why do I say that I believe it's going to be deemed unconstitutional? Because it's one thing for a president to say, you see that group of kids over there? I'm going to use prosecutorial discretion and tell my law enforcement not to arrest them and deport them because they are low on the priority list. I want to put criminals first. It's another thing to say, I'm going to confer benefits on them. I'm going to give them in-state tuition. I'm going to give them Obamacare. I'm going to give them welfare. I'm going to give them, all this. Now you're burdening the states with providing services to those folks. Only Congress can do that. Only Congress can confer benefits. And it's going to be deemed unconstitutional, whether we like it or not. Those are the facts. That's why you need Congress to act, which is why we need the Latino community to persuade Congress and the Senate. And I want to say something entre parentheses here. Both the Republicans and the Democrats have been at fault here. The Democrats, because time and again, you'll remember, every candidate says, if you vote for me, I'm going to get you immigration reform. And there we go. Yes, let's vote for the Democrat because he's going to get us immigration reform. 4 years later, we have nothing. And we say, what happened? You promised immigration reform. Well, you know, those Republicans, they don't want to play ball. They're racist y cosas. But if you vote for me again, I'll get you immigration reform. So we vote for them again. And guess what? 4 years later, the same excuse. But you didn't say that. You said you were going to get immigration reform. And all you're doing is blaming Republicans. Well, then, you know, yes, that's true. But if you vote for me again, I'll get you immigration reform. Oh, yeah, ya cansó. And that's why people voted against the Democrats. We need to exercise our vote and hold them accountable, which is exactly what we did this time around. And I think now the Democrats need to be reminded, now, are you going to play ball or not? And the Republicans need to say, we voted for you. You better step up. So it's holding both sides accountable and say, let's come to the table. Let's get to an agreement, or there's going to be electoral consequences by the Latino community.
And that means that they'll be, primaried and replaced.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Daniel, so what is the first step? So how can we, influence Congress to change or listen to the people?
So, Daniel, I just want to quick on what Rocky just said, because he doesn't believe me sometimes when I tell him that the links and the surveys that we send out go directly to congressmen, go directly to state reps, and that is the first step, because that's an actual email or an actual survey that's going to the state reps and going to the Congress and saying, hey, I'm in your district and you better do something about, and then I send the links out.
Miss Cindy, it's not that I don't believe you, Cindy. It's not that I don't believe you, Cindy. I'm trying to lead Mr. Daniel to bring that up. What can we do?
Okay, go ahead, Daniel. Answer that.
If it's surveys, if it's calling, emailing, let us know so we can show our people what to do. We can put some links down here on our social media.
And just to let you know, we only have 2 minutes left.
Okay, so I'll try to be quick. The Latino community needs to understand that there is no one thing that you do. There is no one silver bullet. God, if we do this, that's it. Ya le hicimos. It is an accumulation of things that you need to do. You need to email. You need to create social media content that puts pressure and calls out both sides. You need to have meetings on Capitol Hill. You need to, with the congressmen themselves, one-on-ones. We need a coalition of faith groups, business groups, women, youth, todo, across the board, talking to these folks constantly. Also, we need to raise up those champions that have voted for or proposed legislation that it does call for immigration reform, like a Dan Newhouse in the state of Washington, or a Maria Elvira Salazar in Florida, or Tony Gonzalez in Texas. And yes, even on the Democrat side, they've proposed a lot of legislation. We need to raise those folks as champions and pat them on the back when they do things that are right, not vote against them. And so it takes a lot of work. We're doing it. We're forming coalitions with a lot of pastors groups, a lot of business groups, a lot of women's groups. We're doing the signups, the phone calls, todo. We're activating and mobilizing the Latino community across the country.
Half a minute because it's gonna end. So
no, that's fine. I mean, you said that's what we're doing. We as in you. I just want to empower the people, give them step-by-step stuff to do. You say that there's not one silver bullet. I understand that, but we need to know what we can do to help you in your movement.
Oh, we're driving for the people. We're mobilizing.
So, Daniel, we got volunteers talking to you, Rocky Garcia. So guess what he's about to go through tonight, and he's gonna put out the links for me. I'm gonna make him put out those links. But unfortunately, we have 5 seconds left, so we are out. I thank you, Mr. Daniel Garza, for coming on the show. We'll have you again. We'll have you again because this is an issue that's not going to stop just right now. But thank you for taking the time.
We just gotta let Trump cook. That's all. Let him cook. Let him cook.
You still gotta hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it.
All right, sir. Well,
thank you, Daniel,
so
for your time.
Adios.
All right, and thank you to Ms. Chris Coons for being our guest today. And Rocky, take us out.
Yes, you did a great job, Ms. Coons. I appreciate it.
Fun.
Yes. We got to have you back again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your show. This is Cyndi and Rocky Talk San Antonio, the true patriot voice. Thank you once again from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in and logging in and sharing our posts, growing our audience by leaps and bounds. Thank you very much, and we're out.
Thank you for tuning in to Cyndi and Rocky Talk San Antonio. We hope you found today's conversations inspiring, informative, and empowering. Remember, Our community grows stronger when we work together and share ideas and solutions. Stay connected with us on social media and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, this is Cyndi and Rocky signing off. Take care, stay involved, and keep making a difference together.